Good evening, everyone. And since it is after 5 o'clock, I'm going to begin the meeting of the work session. Dr. Scott, would you mind doing the roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Heidi Hensley. Mary P. Bagby. Here. Linda Davis.
Here.
Dr. Patricia Yeager. Tim Denson. Dr. Mumby Anderson. Dr. Lakeisha Gant.
Here.
Nicole Hull.
Here.
Mark Evans.
Here. All right. Take care of that. All right, so I'm going to go into the board president report. And Dr. Anderson will be joining us at the actual board meeting, the actual session this evening. The one thing that she wanted me to remind you all of is really, well, two things, is that there was a survey that went out to you in your emails, and she wanted to make sure that you had completed that. And also a reminder that next week, October the 16th, we will be here, right, Lisa? We're going to meet here? Yes. Okay. We're going to be meeting here for our retreat. It's going to start at 4:45. And dinner will be provided by Butter Bites, which sounds amazing. So thank you, Butter Bites, for all you have there. Let's see. I don't have anything else to report, so until I get to the Career Academy. So, but all right. Having said that, we're going to now move into the policy sessions. And so we're going to start with policy DA, goals and objectives, a first read. My understanding is that this is, that there wasn't really any changes that were made on that one. Is that correct, Dr. Scott?
That is correct.
Okay. And so I'm saying all this as I hook up my computer because I'm completely unprepared, which is fabulous. So, did anyone have anything that they would like to bring up or mention about this, so that way we can send it back?
Now this,
Yes, Ms. Davis.
so I did have a question about this one as a first read, and I will eventually put this in the Google Doc. But this looked like, is this the one where we combined the policy and the, what do you call it, the regs? One of them did, and I can't remember which one it is.
I believe you're referring to the purchasing one, the DJE.
Is it DJE?
It went out for public comment last month, and it is on the agenda tonight as item D for approval.
Okay. I'll wait until then. Thank you.
It's helpful to turn on the microphone. Policy DC, annual operating budget, first read. Now, this one, I thought there were a couple of changes, but they weren't substantial, if I am remembering correctly. But let me... Did anyone have anything that they wanted to discuss about policy DC that wasn't in, that they did not put in the Google Doc?
I am so sorry, guys, but I left my note at home because I didn't get a chance to put it in the Google Doc. But the annual operating budget, if I'm not mistaken, this is where we reduced. Can you just give me a summary of what this policy is about, so that'll help me focus a little bit easier? The DC annual operating budget. What was the recommendation on this, and what was it about?
So the recommendation on this one was just to delete the language that is no longer accurate or appropriate as it relates to the annual budget. And so that's the only changes here within that. And so it is still, it's not a policy that's required by law, but there was some language in there that was no longer accurate.
So if it's not required by law, but I guess previous boards have implemented this as a policy for operations, what governs it? Just the policy itself?
Yes.
Okay. I had some questions about that one too, but again, I didn't get them in my notebook. I apologize.
Well, if you could share those in the Google Doc, that'd be great. So that way we could,
It was a lot to write, but I will try my best.
okay,
Maybe I'll
thank
get
you.
AI to help me write it.
There you go. There you go. All right, anything else on policy DC? Ms. Bagby?
Well, is this the policy where we approved the $255 million for the fiscal budget with Mr. Griner?
No.
It's the
Well-
general fund budget, right?
So it does include the procedures for approval of the budget, and so it's just going over the procedures of how you would go about doing that, and that it would require an approval by the board.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Linda? Okay. So that's a first read. So again, if you have any questions that come up between now and the next meeting, please put them in the Google Docs. All right, moving on to approval, things that we will be going into tonight. Policy DJE, purchasing. Does anyone?
Excuse me, did you do DJD first read? Did we look at that one?
No, I skipped it because I didn't want to do it. I actually put a check by there because I'm not paying attention. So I was more worried about my Coke Zero. So let's go back to policy DJD then, expense reimbursement. I mean, do we really have to reimburse these folks? I mean, come on. You know, it's for the love of the kids, right? You know, Griner driving all over the state. So does anyone have any questions about that? Anything? No? Oh, okay. Dr. Gant?
Just really quick, and I think for some strange reason, I got my policies confused. But with this one, Dr. Scott, when they, with the out-of-county travel, as far as it being approved in advance, and like thinking about that with like the budget and things like that, how are the departments or people like allocated the funds? I know like we look at like the budget each year, but like specifically, like I'm guessing that just goes to if it's instructional services, if it's student support, and then that director gets to determine like how much a person might be able to use towards their professional development?
That is correct. So each department is able to submit a budget of these are the conferences or the meetings that we anticipate attending or participating in, and then they're able to then budget for that, but there is still the requirement for prior approval. And so that may change or adjust based upon what the needs are of individuals within that department for continuous professional development, participation in things, presentations at different conferences. This also includes school-based. And so for our school-based personnel as well.
Oh, okay, I see. And so if they like, so, but each department, like, or each area or office, like with our transportation and custodial staff, if they're not in a leadership position, are they able to, you know, like, is there typically enough funding, like, for individuals, you know, to be able to attend, like, conferences and things like that?
Yes, and so that would be up to that department to have a procedure in place where if staff members do need some additional professional development or there's a conference they need to attend, then they would work with the leadership within that department to get that as a part of their budget, to get it scheduled, determine who might participate. I know for our district services department, I know that there's been some trainings that various members of their team have attended over at the University of Georgia. I know there's some Sigma 6 certifications that have taken place within that department as well.
Okay. I was just asking, I know like before we've talked about, it's sort of come up and we've talked about, being sure that we, just professionalize and be sure that our classified staff have access to, those opportunities. So I was just curious.
Yes.
Anyone else? All right, thank you. Okay, all right, moving on. Now we're going to get to DJE, okay? All right, so, and ooh, look at all the approvals. Good times. Purchasing, did everyone get their questions answered by staff, by cabinet staff through Google? If not, does anyone have a last question? No? Okay, great. Okay.
Sorry, can this go on consent, or do you want to vote on it individually at the board meeting?
Well, I would like to put it on consent, but I have to ask the rest of them. We're not quite authoritarian yet, but we're getting closer all the time.
Before
so.
you go there, I'm sorry, this is the one where we raise the threshold?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
And,
Do we want to put that on consent, or do you want me to pull that?
well, I was curious, and I was going to ask staff, how many times do we have this problem with the $3,500 being an issue?
Mr. Griner?
And I think it's unfair to ask him to respond now. That was going on the thing, but I didn't get it on there. But however you want to do it. Great.
There we go.
Oh, wow, I can hear you now.
That's strong. So the 10,000 is also now the new federal micro purchase guideline. So that was kind of the driving force. And then as we continue to listen to our bookkeepers and our department budget admins, it keeps coming up. That would be, and even honestly from our purchasing supervisor, Ms. Jackson, she said this would alleviate, a lot of work that they have in her office as well. And so I think as we went through the policy, everybody was kind of in favor of moving. Looking at other districts, we did look at other districts around us as well. Most all of them are at that $10,000 threshold as well.
So even these purchases that are coming in at $3,500 to $10,000, I know we see mostly the ones that are cost overruns in construction, but we rarely see these unless it's some big thing like heating and air conditioning or some major facility purchase. Are those in this category at all?
No, these are just like actual initial purchases. So the current policy says, up to $3,500, we have to get 2 quotes. This would mean that now at the 10, it raises that limit to 10,000 that would require two quotes.
Okay. No worries.
But those are the initial purchases, so that doesn't factor in anything that may, that's handled through different procedures as far as the budget goes. So.
And so, when I have enough time with these, I spend a lot of time wandering, so tell me if I'm getting off track. As we're looking at these expenditures, these are included in the annual budgets, right? These are things that they plan to do, and we simply need the approval authority because we're spending the money. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah,
Okay.
that's, so these items it's just a matter of the procedure we have to go through. Do you have to get 2 quotes, or can you just, go ahead and move forward up to that threshold amount without having to get 2? That's all it's affecting is, it's really the vendor selection process. It just alleviates some of that additional paperwork.
And again, so then by raising it to $10,000, are we eliminating opportunities for minority contractors to participate in any of this?
Actually, it's probably assisting in that process because the schools will have more leeway. Like right now, where we have to get the 2 quotes, I think this will actually, what Ms. Jackson thinks, and I agree, is that this will open the door for more minority purchases. So,
Now, you could have said that at the beginning, and I wouldn't have had no more questions.
I'm sorry, I'll get that in there at the beginning, but no,
Because these-
those, you've hit the items you mentioned are exactly what we talked about as we looked at changing this limit, was the federal guidelines, the ease on our bookkeepers, and also the, as part of our disparity study, the minority purchasing piece.
And again, that's something that can always be handled with process, so I'm not too concerned about that, and we might need to do some more things around that. The other question, is this the one that also eliminated the, we have the policy, and then we have the regs. Is this the one that combined the policies and regs?
Yes, it is. This used to have a policy and a regulation. I went back and looked after the last board meeting. I think the policy was roughly 5 pages long and the regulation was 7 pages long. So we basically took about a 12 or 13-page document and condensed it into a policy that's much shorter than combined. We had a lot of redundancy in the policy and regulation. I'm not sure how that happened over the years, but typically, as you mentioned at the last board meeting, the policy, kind of lays out the groundwork, and then the regulation has the meat of the document in there. For whatever reason, we had a lot of and I think when Ms. Bodess sat down with us, Ms. Jackson and myself, the thought was that we could just create this one document that had that in it. So,
But I think the intention of the policy and the reg is to separate the governance responsibilities from operations. And since we've been in trouble with Cognia in terms of the board getting involved in operations, I would like for our policies to maintain that separation, just to help us be very focused on our role versus what administration and operations does. And so that's my concern. And when we start losing that, then I think it's very easy for the boards to pick up a policy, because that's our purview, and then kind of wander off into operations, and that wanders us off into Cognia. That puts us in that space of being under scrutiny for accreditation review. And I would like for us to be consistent and purposeful in how we do these. Period. And if we decide we want to combine them, then combine them, and then we'll let the board figure out where we stop and where operations starts again. But that was my real objection to this policy, is, again, I don't want to see us make it easy for the board to overstep. We get a lot of new board members, and that turnover is fairly frequent, and I don't want us to keep going back to that well of overstepping into operations.
I support that. I'd agree with that. The separation of the policy and the regulation and the definition of governance and operation.
Kind of gives us a lane to stay in. Thank you.
So I'm going to do the thumbs up, thumbs down for so you want to pull it?
I want to pull it.
Okay, all right.
And I
we'll
want to
pull
send
it.
it back.
Okay.
Right.
We want to pull it and send it back. So when we get to the regular meeting, that will be, well, that's when we can make that decision, right?
Sure.
We can actually, if it's the consensus of the board, then we can take it back and separate it out to do a policy and then a reg with that,
That would be excellent.
if that would be the preference. Because we can always bring it back for,
I'm all for it, so let's send it back. And Dr. Gant?
Remind me, because this policy, I think this was for action, right? And so we've already had a first read of the policy. And at some point, from my understanding, but correct me, they were separate.
so the revisions were to remove any redundancy, remove any conflict, but then also to basically build out a policy that was more condensed than what they had before, but it also brought over some of the elements that were included in the regulation.
Okay. And in this event, I'm trying to go back to our conversation last month, or maybe the month before last, I can't remember when this came up, but it was, the rationale for putting them together was just so that we would have them, we would have it all in one place, or?
And I'll let Mr. Griner really kind of speak to that, but for the most part, to streamline it, to make sure that there was not that redundancy. But in talking in response to the concerns that were raised by Ms. Davis last month, then we talked about what does this look like if it were to be a policy and then an additional reg. So I think that he is in the space to be able to do that. But Mr. Griner, what was the rationale for actually combining it?
Tried to think back on our meeting, and I know Mr. Pruitt was in there as well when Ms. Modest. I think it was really just, it was so, going back to what I said earlier with Ms. Davis, it was 5 pages here, 7 pages here. I think the rationale was, and again, not knowing some of the previous history that Ms. Davis mentioned, I think it was just like, we can take this policy and regulation and make it into one document. I've looked at other districts, it's all over the place. Some of our neighbors have 2 paragraphs for their purchasing policy, maybe 3 paragraphs. I don't recommend that. I think you want, from a legal standpoint, I think you definitely want a little bit more meat in your purchasing policy. I've seen some districts that have a couple paragraphs for the policy and then have a regulation. It's kind of all over the place. Again, I know we're only concerned with, what Clark County School District does, but I like to look, and I know Dr. Scott, look at other districts and see what they're doing as well, just to kind of get some thoughts. And I know Ms. Modest did a lot of research as well, looking at other districts as well, trying to combine thoughts. But that was honestly, I think it was just so many repetitions between the policy and regulation. The decision was made, let's just make this all one document. So honestly, so that doesn't happen again like it did before.
May I make a comment?
Please.
Just looking at this, I'm wondering if we've lost a little bit in the translation. Okay, let's start back with this. The state law only says one thing about bidding, and then you have the OMB stuff, and that seems to be fine. But state law only addresses public works construction. And it used to be a $100,000 threshold where you had to do formal seal bids or formal RFPs. The change in the General Assembly session this year was to raise that threshold to $250,000. The prior version of DJE and DJE R1 set a $50,000 threshold, not only for public works construction, but for all purchases. I think we lost that $50,000 in the rewrite. If you look at number 7 on page 1, item 2, it seems to say that everything over $10,000 requires a formal invitation for bid or RFP. Then you skip down to 3, where it talks about 2 quotes for $10,000 but not exceeding $25,000. But you've already invoked a higher threshold in number 2, a lower threshold to invoke the more strenuous procedure of formal seal, invitation for bid and seal bid, same thing, or RFP. I also noticed further down in here where it talked about local preferences, top of page 3, it still talks about public works projects exceeding $100,000, that's now $250,000. I'm not sure I would be able, I'm sure I would not be able to read this and figure out what to do with those different thresholds, the way it's written.
So Dr. Scott, should we just send it all back? Okay, we're just going to send it back.
I think so, unless Mr. Griner sees more than I'm seeing here on this read-through.
No, I agree with Mr. Pruitt. I think there was supposed to be 3 thresholds in there. So 10,000 to 25,000 would require 2 quotes, and then 25 up to 49,999 would be up to Ms. Jackson's discretion on whether it's a invitation for bid or an RFP, and then anything above 50, of course, requires board approval.
Right, but board approval is who approves it. Seal bid, RFP, 2 quotes, all of those things are method before you get to the approval. And that's the part we're missing.
Right.
All right, so we'll send it back. Seems
Thank
easy
you.
enough.
I'd like to just reiterate, make sure I heard this correctly. We are going to at least have a standard of policy is, again, governance, direction, and guidance, whereas regulations are how the district implements policy, right? Validates policy, does the things they do operationally to ensure that things are being done according to policy. And the board is not in that, that's not our, what do you call it, playground. We are strictly in that governance. And if we can keep that consistently, I think it would help new board members coming on board as well to see their world as opposed to the operations world. And now, again, I've been here 13 years, so at one point, whenever we reviewed policy, we also reviewed the regs. We didn't do anything with the regs, but we reviewed the regs to make sure that they were consistent with our policy. I would recommend that we go back to that practice as well. This one made me crazy because, so it's too much happening at one time, so that would help. Thank you.
All right, so Lisa, if you'll just send it back.
And just a quick question.
Yes, Dr.
So,
Yang.
Dr. Evans, so when this goes back, it sounds like it's a couple of things that are gonna happen. One, the policy being teased out from the reg, and then maybe some like revisions so that it is a little bit clearer. And I guess I guess we'll see it, but just trying to figure out like how much will be in the policy and what will be in the reg, because it seems that the intent and the spirit of it is really to increase access. And so I guess just, trying to be sure that, I know we're not directly involved in the regulations, but, just being sure that that aspect is kept, since we'll review it, but we won't, really take any action on it.
Yes, that's not a problem.
Mr. Tenson, do you have anything you'd like to add on this? Okay. All right, so we'll send it back. Okay, can I say that one more time? We're going to send it back. Okay, great. All right, moving on to policy GAC, staff involvement in decision-making, and this one's for approval. So is everyone happy with this now? If so, can I get the thumbs up, or should I pull it? Miss, that was so half-hearted.
I think it's aspirational. I don't think it's a necessary policy, but I mean, I'm not gonna fight it. I just think it's one of the millions that we could eliminate, but I'm okay with it being on consent.
Ms. Davis?
I don't think it's aspirational. I think aspirational belongs in our strategic plan, not in our policies. And I think it leaves me with a void. I don't have any assurance of how this can be implemented, monitored, or observed. I think we are governance, and we hire a superintendent to meet the objectives of educating our children and making those decisions. I think it's overstep for the board to make a policy that says, oh, anybody wants to can have a meeting. It's too open-ended. It leaves us very vulnerable. So I would recommend that we pull it permanently.
All right, so should we pull it from the consent agenda and have a discussion about all this again? Okay, pull it. Pull it. All right.
So we're going to vote on it individually and discuss it at the board meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to policy GAMA, drug-free workplace approval. Anybody here want to, can we pull it or keep it?
I just had a
Yeah,
couple of
Dr. Yang.
follow-up with this, just to be sure I was clear. Dr. Scott and I guess Mr. Pruitt, so the changes that we've made to this policy, like, you know how we decreased a lot of the things. So we basically made the changes so that it's compliant with like what we have to do by law, correct? Like we can't do any less. So for instance, applicants, like 1B, where it says any person who has been convicted 2 or more times under the laws of Georgia, or any other state, or the United States or any other state, it goes on to say ineligible for hire for a period of 5 years, and that was reduced from 10 to 5. And so the reductions and the changes that we've made, these are the minimum allowed by law, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, put that in the consent agenda? Okay, consent agenda it goes, excellent, okay. Next is policy JR, student records approval. Now, this is one, Mr. Pruitt, if I remember correctly, this is, we got some guidance from the lawmakers on this, that we had to do some things. Is that correct, Dr. Scott, Mr. Pruitt?
Yes, sir. There was one thing that had to be added, which is, I'm looking for it in here, it regards disclosure of directory information to political candidates. That's on page 4 of 7 in that document. So that was the change in law at this year's session of the General Assembly. Otherwise, and I have not compared them to proofread it, but it's my understanding that this just reflects GSB's update to their model policy, JR, which included that language for this year's new law.
Okay. All right. Any questions, Dr. Gant?
No. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I was still thinking, I was thinking about the prior policy. Can I change my mind, and can we pull GAMA, I'm sorry, from consent?
I don't know. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. We'll pull.
I don't have any specific questions, I just need to double check something
Okay.
during our break.
Nope. No worries. Okay. And so we're good with that, right? Consent agenda, policy JR? Ms. Bagby, you okay with that? Okay, all right. All right. And then H, future policies. So let me take a look here. Really nothing. So we don't have anything to review other than that? Wow, okay. Yes.
May I
Ms.
make a
Davis.
request that we at least create a policy that talks about how policies are to be administered, again, keeping the governance separate from operations, but perhaps bringing before the board, since we're no longer in a committee that we can talk about these things, if we could bring the regulations with the policies for review, that would help us to see if we're missing some gaps in our policy.
So you want us
I want a
to
policy that
create a
says, this is how we're going
policy?
to write a policy.
You want us to write a policy about policy and regs?
That, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, that's not Monty Python at all. Okay.
If it's a policy, it'll do better than being in our handbook, right?
Well, yeah,
Okay.
I'm very proud of that, Hannah. All right. Okay, moving rapidly along to, number 5, business items for discussion for consent agenda. Okay, so September work session and board meeting minutes. Yeah, right? Anybody have a problem with what we did? Okay, all right, so we'll keep that in. Cool. Clark Central High School tennis court repair.
Consent?
Okay, consent. All right. Mr. Denson?
Just I wanted to say a quick comment. I'd gotten a lot of contact from some parents about this, so just want to say my appreciation to staff for getting this all together and getting it on the agenda. Appreciate it.
Can we good with keeping that on the consent agenda? All right, get that. All right, our favorite one, field trips.
Consent.
Everybody consent, okay, all right, good, all right, we'll keep the, All right, the amendment of the 26-27 academic calendar. Have you all looked at that? So, everybody's consent? Okay. All right. Ms. Bagby, looks like, do you have something you want to say, ma'am? Oh, okay, okay. All right, we'll keep that on consent.
Dr. Evans?
Yes,
Can
yes,
I
ma'am.
ask a quick question? I think
Sure.
I want to pull it from consent, but I'm not quite sure. With the amendment of the calendar, let me go back. I saw the, sorry, give me a second. I'm in a different area. So the information that was provided, like I know it won't impact the instructional days. In this event, Dr. Scott, does it, before these amendments are brought forward, is it taken back through like that calendar committee and tab? Or is it something that like typically like the district office will decide, and then how is it communicated out? Because I know every year, like, you know, like the calendar is a big deal. And I feel like for the past, not each year, but occasionally we will make amendments, you know, like depending on something like we learn. And I know that we sort of had that discussion when we talked about if we need to do 2 years at a time anyway. But yeah, so these changes, are they routed back through TAB and through like the schools and that calendar committee?
So these changes were shared with our building leaders. I want to verify with Dr. Elders whether or not Dr. Peacock took this back to the committee that helped her develop this or not. I know that many of the changes are based upon feedback we heard from staff around some concerns with the calendar.
Yes, Dr. Scott, we did not take it back through the calendar committee, but this change was a reflection of our convocation feedback from staff and leaders, and having those opportunities to be in their schools on the first day rather than a district learning day. We also took feedback from staff on the end of the year and graduation date falling on a Saturday, and staff was not excited about that. They really wanted that to fall on the Friday. So we were able to accomplish both of those by switching that. So it really came directly from feedback.
So we'll keep it? Keep that in the consent agenda? We want to talk about it?
I won't be here for part of that, so I'm going to let you guys decide.
You say that. I still got some time to convince you to stay, so, okay. All right, so we'll keep that one on there. And then last one, E, which is the West Broad abatement and trash removal. I think we should, well, we're going to need to pull that, I would
Yeah, I
imagine.
definitely need a discussion of what that is, what it's on consent agenda. Is this, I want to understand it. Did I see something in here about it? Because I don't remember seeing a document. Did I miss it?
There were some attachments down near the bottom. You know, and Dr. Scott, do you want to kind of overview this for us, please?
Yeah, definitely.
So as you all know, in response to the fire that took place at West Broad, then there was a fire investigation, and per the fire marshal, there were some things that needed to be done to that building as far as the cleanup, as well as the securing of that building to hopefully prevent any future incidences from happening. And so moving forward with that, Mr. Gilbreth worked to identify a company to complete that project. And so what you see here are the bids that were submitted for the RFQ and the subsequent company that is being selected to conduct that cleanup for us. Because of the current state of the building, it does require a fairly extensive amount of cleanup, including hazmat cleanup. Because of the asbestos that is already in the building, there would have to be something done in order to address that. And so we will go ahead and do the asbestos abatement at the same time that they do the cleanup.
So my question is on securing the building. I have some before pictures and some after pictures, so whoever did the cleanup did an excellent job on the exterior anyway. But from the conversation I had with the fire marshal, the assistant fire marshal, the inside of the buildings were horrendous. I talked to two people that are part of the street population in that neighborhood, and they both informed me that at least 20 people on any given time were sleeping in the building. Is there a way that we can secure the building so that we don't create the health conditions that are in there that have to be abated professionally, as well as secure it so that people understand that it is a place that we value and that we care about, because it does not reflect that now. It does not look like anything I would want to hang my little hand up and say, oh yeah, this is great CCSD property. I need for it to look better. I need for it to be more functional. I really need for us to get more actively involved in understanding the needs of our district and turning that into a facility that this school district can create, maintain, update, because we will never be able to buy a piece of property on that street ever in the history of the school district. So it has to remain ours, and we need to take care of it as if we value it.
Absolutely. So I'll let Mr. Gilbert talk about the plan for actually securing that building to hopefully prevent any additional intrusion by vagrants.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Scott. We will, once the cleanup is done and the abatement's complete, we will actually have fencing, additional fencing that we're going to install. And in addition to the boarding up of the lower windows and doors, it's kind of hard to make it secure and have it look, presentable, but they actually, people, rip the plywood off the doors and windows. So Chief has patrols at the end of the evening going by there. That's one of the stops that they're making, I guess, before the end of the shift to check on the facility, as well as once we put the fencing up, we'll be able to contain those buildings and make them more secure.
So I'm going to ask, may I respond? Yes, ma'am. I'll ask that we not consider the fencing as the thing. I don't think anybody cares about people walking on the grass, right? All of our schools are open, you can walk on the grass after hours, anytime of day or night, so we don't have anything locked down like that. I'm not suggesting that this building become a fortress so that people can't access the properties. I am asking that we secure the physical structures so that they can't be so easily accessed and whatever. And I don't think plywood is the answer to that. I've seen some other buildings. There's a jail over here on Finley Street that's 100 years old, and it looks impenetrable. And so I'm wondering if we can look and consider some other materials in securing the open spaces or the spaces that people have access to.
Yep, we can look at that.
We've been here before, and it's not getting better, so I'd love for us to do more.
I know that this is, I think, one of the items on the retreat agenda, so we do have a plan going forward. This is kind of the first step.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Denson?
Thank you. And so my question on this is, the way it was kind of talked about, is this going to be a complete asbestos removal or just what is absolutely necessary at this moment?
The only thing that we're not going to remove is the glazing on the window frames, because when we get to a point where we're going to modify or do something to the structures, we would deal with that portion of the asbestos abatement at that time.
Okay.
This is primarily inside the building where we're going to be doing the abatement. And it's more cost effective to where when you're mobilized to get that done, the windows could be handled at a later date. They're in a different means when you're doing general renovation construction or demolition, so.
Okay, I appreciate that clarification. And yeah, I definitely am looking forward to our discussion at the retreat so we can find a permanent use for this building and really honor it moving forward. So thank you.
Dr. Gant, sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of echo what Ms. Davis and Mr. Denson said. I do have a quick question about, so the cost that I saw somewhere. Okay, yeah. Dr. Scott, like in team, like how long will, like I know it's like the trash removal and the asbestos. How long do you anticipate this lasting? You know, like I'm guessing the asbestos is sort of a one-time thing minus the windows, but like how many times? Like what do you anticipate as a timeline? Because I'm just guessing there's no way to 100% secure this building. And at some point, and I know we're going to be discussing it, and I think it, you know, many on the board want to sort of move this forward. But I guess my question is like, assuming that, you know, we have this next year, like, will we be back here again, probably spending money to, like, for trash removal? And if so, like, what's the estimate?
So the estimate for this work is about 30 to 45 days to get that done. If we can present you a proposal at the retreat, then we would, and we have, you know, agreement on it, I think that we can move forward at that time. So that's my, you know, I think that's Dr. Scott's direction to me is to, address this as soon as we can.
And I think the best way that we can secure the building is to occupy the building.
Yeah, I agree.
And so with that in mind, to your point, you know, we will do our best to secure it. There's also a plan in place around our security department actually making stops over there on a more frequent basis so that they can determine if anyone has gained access so that we can take the necessary actions on a more frequent basis to have anyone that's in the building that should not be removed from the building so that we can prevent it from being in the shape that it is now.
Okay, and yeah, and I think like, so with the 30 days, assuming we do nothing, what is the estimated time that we would be back here, like probably having to pay for trash removal or just sort of the building being not occupied? I don't know that we've done trash removal before, but maybe we have, okay. And so how,
It was $90,000 the last time, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly.
and so that plus $142,000 is like, so I'm just trying to get in my mind, like I know if even when we discuss it next week, it still may take some time. And so what is your estimate of like how many times we'll have to spend money to keep the place secure and cleaned up over this next year?
I don't know that we can really give you an estimate.
Okay.
Because it truly is going to be based upon if we're able to monitor and keep people out so that it never gets to this space. Because I do know that our teams have had to go in to clean up even in between, if I'm correct, Mr. Gilbert, that our staff have gone into that building to clean it up in between. It's just that the state that it's in now, it's not safe, and it's not something that our team has the expertise to do.
Ms. Bagby?
Yes, about this $143,000 for this cleanup, is this for this time? And as I think Dr. Gant was saying, how many times are we gonna have to do it? But when you use the police force to monitor and visit different sites, that seems to deter people from vandalizing and doing things like that. And so that is our property. It is this county's property. So where's the obligation from the police department to protect that like they protect this building here? That's just what I'm thinking about.
And I think that's one of the safeguards that we're putting in place is to increase the patrolling of that property as well, so that there are more frequent visits to that property to ensure that there aren't people inside that building.
Ms. Davis, if you could hold for just 1 second. Ms. Hull, do you have anything that you'd like to ask? Okay, Ms. Davis?
So my last question is like, in this restoration or cleanup part that we're doing here. We're going to provide more lighting around the building. I'd love for you to take the fence down, you know, make the hedge nice, make the yard attractive, and put lighting there to keep people there from being there at night. Because we keep treating it like it's an abandoned building, and people will treat it that way as well. If we make it an okay place for people to go and play kick football or something in the afternoon, a place where kids can gather safely as they do in the other schools, then I think we have a better chance of having more eyes on the building and even more ideas about the utility of that space. I would love to see that happen. And granted, this is my neighborhood, this is my district. I have lived there most of my life. And so I do know that there are certain things that you can do that don't cost anything to make this a better place and a more respectable place, because it is a place of historic significance in the African American community.
All right, Tina, I think this is one of the things that we're going to need to vote on. So we're going to pull it, and we'll make that a separate thing that we talk about and vote on separately. Okay? Personnel consent? Yeah, okay, all right, consent.
Do you want that on consent, or do you want to do, we usually do it individual because it's personnel. I think Ms.
Yeah.
Davis has always recommended so do y'all want to do it individual?
I was trying to be an agent of change. I know, we were like, well, almost there. We were almost there, but this is why we have Lisa, though, to keep us on the straight and narrow.
If
So,
it's on consent
yes.
and you can't vote because you would violate your code of ethics, then we're in a catch-22. It has to not be consent.
Well,
We have to vote on personnel separately. I can't vote for my relative to be hired, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. I was just saying, you know, as an agent of change, I was trying, but that's all right. So,
But
yeah,
let's
we'll
not
we'll
go to
vote on
jail.
that as well. Okay. As for, we do need to go into executive session?
To discuss personnel.
Okay, all right. Where is the script? I was trying to hold off till Thursday. Here we go, okay. All right. All right, we are going to go into executive session to discuss or deliberate upon the appointment, employment, compensation, hiring, disciplinary action or dismissal, or periodic evaluation or rating of a public officer or employee, or to interview applicants for the position of superintendent. To discuss or authorize negotiations to purchase, dispose of, or lease property subject to approval in a subsequent public vote, and to review and appeal from to review and appeal from a student disciplinary hearing. Having said that, we will now convene into executive session. What?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing as none opposed, we are now in executive session. Ms. Palmer, could you please pull the public comment paper, please? Just a reminder to the general public that you are allowed to make public comment. You get 3 minutes. However, we do pull it at 7 o'clock. You can do it right up to 7, but now it's too late. So that's it. No democracy for you today. So, just kidding. We got democracy every day.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for your patience as we sort of organize ourselves to get ready for our business meeting. We will start with a call to order and then a roll call. Superintendent Scott, are you ready for roll call?
Heidi Hensley, Mary P. Bagby, Linda Davis. Here. Dr. Patricia Yeager, Tim Denson,
Here.
Dr. Mumby Anderson,
Here.
Dr. Lakeisha Gant,
Here.
Nicole Hall, Mark Evans.
Here.
Okay, I think we have enough members to, 1, 2, 3. Okay. We absolutely have a quorum, so we can move forward with our agenda. We will start first with the silent meditation and Pledge of Allegiance. We will start first with a 30-second, approximately, silent meditation, and then when we do the Pledge of Allegiance, the flag is in front of you to your left. So first, silent meditation. All right, and now we will move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. If we can all stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And now we will move on to item 4, which is our awards and recognitions. So Dr. Moore, our favorite part of a business meeting.
And this one is not going to disappoint. First of all, before we get started, thank you, Dr. Scott. Good evening, Dr. Anderson, board members. We have 2 recognitions tonight, but before we begin, I'd like to recognize a group of students. Many of you have spoken with them already, some of them, from Lori Johnston's reporting class at the University of Georgia, and they are here to join us tonight and perhaps ask you some questions and just find out how the Board of Education process works. Mr. Thompson, who you all know in my department, is a graduate of the Grady College of Journalism, and he went recently and spoke to this class, so we're very happy to have them here with us tonight. As I said, we have 2 recognitions, one a staff member and one a student, both of whom are being recognized tonight for their heroic actions. We'll start with our October Employee of the Month. Our Employee of the Month this month is Felicia Barrett, Behavior Interventionist and After-School Program Coordinator at Timothy Road Elementary School. Ms. Barrett, I'm going to ask you to make your way to the stage, and as she does so, I'll tell you a little bit more about her. Ms. Barrett has been with CCSD in Timothy Road for the past 11 years after moving to Athens from North Carolina. She was nominated by a parent for being an amazing interventionist who always has the children's best interests at heart, and for not only supporting students through improving behavior, but also supporting them in their academics and even outside of school at athletic events and other activities. Talk to just about any current or former Timothy Road parent or staff member, and they will tell you that Miss Barrett is already an unsung hero who runs the after-school program with excellence and goes above what is expected from any employee, building lasting relationships with anyone she comes in contact with. Timothy Road Principal Cedric Payne writes, Mrs. Barrett wears many hats here at Timothy. No matter the role, her unwavering focus has always been doing what's best for our students. Her dedication, passion, and care make a meaningful difference in the lives of every child she supports, and we are truly grateful for her commitment. But, as relayed to the parent who nominated her by their son, it was Ms. Barrett's recent actions during a lunch period at school that really demonstrates that commitment and the best qualities any one of us could ask or hope for in a CCSD employee. As a child began choking on their food, Ms. Barrett quickly rushed into the cafeteria, performed the Heimlich maneuver, and turned a scary situation into a truly heroic moment. As this parent put it, I believe she saves lives most days. But on top of this, she needs to be honored for all she does to support our students in every possible way. I think you will agree with me. There's some happy parents somewhere that are very glad Ms. Barrett came into their life that day and every day. So please join me in congratulating our Employee of the Month, Felicia Barrett. Woo! Now, I'm going to invite Ms. Barrett's support team up here if you'd like to have your picture taken, and I'm going to ask the board to make their way up too. As I do that, and as you all do that for photos, we want to thank the Athens Area Chamber of Commerce, as well as local businesses, for once again supporting our Employee of the Month program by contributing the winner's gift bag. That's heavy, isn't it? It is filled with stuff you're going to love. We also want to thank all of the members of the CCSD community who have submitted so many wonderful nominations that make this decision increasingly difficult each month. As a reminder, any member of our community may nominate any full-time CCSD employee with at least 1 year of service for this award. Board members, you can make your way on in. You can go to the link on the screen to get started on your nomination for November. As we take our final pictures with the board and thank Ms. Barrett for all she does, let's give her another round of applause. I told you it'd be uncomfortable, but it was worth it, wasn't it? Thank you all so much. You may be seated. Thank you for coming with her. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Next, we'd like to recognize a Bernie Harris Lyons Middle School student who's in the 7th grade, Jordan Billings, for his own recent heroic activity. Jordan, if you want to bring your friends and family and your principal up, just come right on up to this stage. And we're going to tell you about this fine young man. You just do exactly what Miss Barrett did right there in the middle of the stage, okay? And you remember I told you I'm going to tell everybody what you did. There might be questions after. You might even have to sign some autographs. Okay, you good with that? Okay, good. Jordan is one of our many thriving students who have been putting into action the Leader in Me leadership habits at his school. One day last month, when Jordan was getting off a bus at his afternoon stop, he saw a small child with autism run out of reach of his mother and into the street. Jordan, without thinking, was able to get to that child and restrain him even though the child was scared and confused until the driver could get off the bus and help him get off the street safely. By being responsible, having a positive attitude, and doing the right thing, even when nobody was watching or expecting him to, Jordan has been a leader in demonstrating Leader in Me habit number 1, be proactive. You didn't wait for anybody else to take action, did you, Jordan? As well as following BHL's ROAR expectations for students. And what are they? Respectful, open-minded, accountable, and responsible. I had a cheat sheet, so that's how I knew it, Jordan. I think you all will agree with me that our school district and our community is very fortunate, and our future looks very bright with young men like Jordan looking out for those of us who need help. Thank you, Jordan. Please join me in a round of applause. Now, we'll get some pictures, but board members, I think this is worth a picture with you too, because Jordan is going to be remembered for this. And I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say, one day, we're going to hear great things about Jordan as an adult, and we're going to pull this picture out and say, remember when. So we can't wait to see what you do, Jordan. Okay, look this way and give us a big smile. Miss Bagby, over just a little. There you go. You're good. Thank you very much. You all may be seated. I think we do a lot of academic recognitions and athletic recognitions, but isn't it nice when we meet real-life heroes right in our midst? Dr. Scott, Dr. Anderson, that concludes our recognitions for this evening. I'll now turn it back over to you, Dr. Anderson, and the board for any recognitions you'd care to share. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Moore, and that is always the highlight of our board meetings. So we appreciate you so much for the efforts that you make in collecting all of the student achievements and the parent successes and everything that we get to celebrate here in this space. I will say, if you are here specifically to celebrate your child or a parent or a teacher or a colleague, you're welcome to leave. You don't have to stick around and sneak away. So if you want to go ahead and exit, you're welcome to do that as we proceed to the board meeting. And so now we will move to the next section of our meeting, which is public comment. And do we have public comment for tonight? Okay. So we do not have public comment for tonight, so we will move on to the next agenda item, to amend or adopt the agenda as presented. I was not at the work session, so if there are amendments to be made to the agenda before we approve it?
There are none.
None? Okay. All right, so we are ready to
Make a motion that we accept the agenda as written.
Second?
All right, motion made by Mr. Evans and seconded by Ms. Davis. Are we ready for a vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I think that motion passes unanimously. And now we are on to item number 7, our superintendent report.
Thank you, Madam President. So as Q1 comes to a close, I would like to say a huge thank you to our staff, students, and parents for a strong and productive start to this school year. We are wrapping up our parent-teacher conferences on today, and so of course we want to thank our parents for your participation in those conferences, and we are allowing our staff and students to enjoy the remainder of this week as a holiday, with tomorrow being off as well as on Monday. Our Superintendent Student Advisory Council met for its first meeting on September 23rd. As a part of their work this year, they have identified some problems or concerns that they would like to tackle. So they will be exploring and considering that using design thinking. So we are looking forward to them preparing presentations that they will share with board members in the spring. So please look forward to that. We are always excited to hear from our students. We want to say congratulations to our Teacher of the Year finalists. Each of these 3 finalists were surprised on yesterday with that announcement at their respective schools. So congratulations to Mr. Timothy Pritchett at Barnett Shows Elementary, Miss Adrian White at Barrow Elementary, and Miss Stephanie Lewis at Cedar Shows High School. A panel of judges will be visiting each of their classrooms on next week to observe a lesson, and the winner for our district will be announced at our annual Teacher and Support Person of the Year banquet on October 23rd. We also want to end by saying congratulations to Clark Central Senior Evan Cornish, who was selected to serve on the State Superintendent Richard Woods Student Advisory Council. He is one of 79 students selected from a total of 1,235 applicants across the state. So we are very proud of Evan and wish him the best as he serves in that capacity. With that, then that concludes my announcements, but I do want to just bring your attention to our Athens Community Career Academy report. You do have the minutes from their August meeting. They will approve their September minutes at their October meeting, which has been moved to the 23rd due to a conflict. But I would like to ask Mr. Evans if he has any additional announcements or information to share regarding the Athens Community Career Academy.
Well, they had a blood drive last Tuesday. I gave blood. That was exciting for everyone. They also had a pop-up bistro on Thursday a week ago Thursday, and they're going to be doing that continually throughout the year. I do believe that the meeting is going to be on the 23rd is also a part of their accreditation. And so if you are able to make it, I believe it's during the daytime because we have the Teacher of the Year and professional parapro at night, the student support at night. So if you can be there, that would be great because that is a program that is really important to not only CCSD but the community in general. And if we can find more pathways, especially in the building trades, I think that would be a great thing for us to really get into. And then lastly, on the CTAE side, the folks at Clark Central High School, the FFA, are doing a wreath workshop, pop-up workshop. So if you're interested in that, just go to the Clark Central website and you'll see a link to FFA, and it'll take you to where you need to go. So that's it. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. And that meeting is October 23rd at 12 o'clock. It's from 12 to 2. All right. Thank you, Mr. Evans. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Superintendent Scott. All right, we will now move into our presentations and discussions. So first up, we have the GSBA timeline for the superintendent search process. I will remind everyone that we did vote, I think 2 meetings ago, to have a search firm, and that was GSBA, to conduct the next superintendent search process. And Mr. Evans and I have had multiple meetings with them about what that will look like over the next year, but it's also really important to make the public aware of what that will look like over the next year, and if there are ways in which the public can participate, and if there are ways in which the public can be aware of this process and what's happening. And so we will have GSBA, which is the full board approved as the search firm for the next superintendent, and they will come and do a presentation along with a Q&A.
members of the board, Madam Chair, Superintendent and guests, we are happy to be with you this afternoon to reconnect, to touch bases in terms of what next steps would potentially look like in the timeline for the superintendent search. At this point, you have a rough draft, and I want to emphasize that because if you recall, when the team, members of the team were here with you before and presented in reference to the process, we talked about the process being customized based on your needs. And so that's why I wanted to emphasize that this is a rough draft. There will be some things involved in the process, of course, that provide guardrails and a part of law that we cannot, with which we can't tamper, and we will point those out. However, this rough draft is for you to make notes, to think about after we're gone, to mark up in terms of having questions and that kind of thing. So if you would notice that the timeline that's before you, you see it on the screen and you have it at your seats as well. The search itself was initiated in September, around September 11th, in terms of board action needing to be taken, and that action was taken. You heard that earlier. Then it brings us into this month, which is where we will pick up. So here's where I want you to think a bit about where we are with the timeline. You notice at the top, it ranges from September 2025 through, potentially through May 2026. But at this point, board member completion of qualification survey, research-based survey is the next step. And you notice that as far as the proposed timeline, this draft is going to be initiated following this and sent to board members. I want to talk a little bit about the qualifications draft. You would probably recall from the initial presentation, we talked about PCL standards, which refer to the professional standards of education for educational leaders, and an aligned framework. This research-based questionnaire that will be coming to you via email as of Monday of next week will be aligned to those standards. And so each board member will receive that. It will be sent to the email that you have in the system for Georgia School Boards Associations. We'll have one of the staff members also to reach back out to determine if there's a different email that you won't use than the one that's in the system. So we can do that as well. But each of you will receive it securely, individually, with the same questions linked to those PCL standards. You will answer those based on what your assessment is of what next steps should look like, aligned to those standards. And once that's done and completed and back to our staff, the staff will do an analysis based on what each of you has said, and then that analysis will then begin to build a proposed profile for the next superintendent around those standards. That profile will be sent back to you, and you'll have a chance to review that. So that takes us to moving forward from October 2025 for the board members to complete the qualification survey into the month of November to submit a draft announcement to the board. Once you complete the survey that's going to be sent to you next week, the analysis comes back to you. We will reach out to the system to ask for a designee from the district to begin to collect information that's vital in terms of describing the district itself, such as what is your current mission, vision, et cetera, the size of the district, size of the budget, number of classified, certified staff. You get the picture. It tells a story about Clark County in terms of not only the things that will be in the profile in terms of preferred and required attributes, which will be reflective of what you will have said, but it also tells the story of what's going on in the district in terms of mission, vision, values, beliefs, all of those things, and photos from the district, as well as a description of the community will be compiled. That will be put together, and we'll submit that draft announcement back to you next month, during the month of November. You will take a look at that, make any changes, make any modifications, updates. Once that happens, we expect that we'll make those edits from the communications department there with Georgia School Boards Association. Once those edits are made, then you should be at a point where you receive the final draft back. And you notice that during the month of November 2025, we anticipate the announcement approval by you as well. So again, that's after you will have been in control of all of the indicators and the things that you want to appear in that brochure, in that virtual announcement. Following the approval of the announcement, next, we anticipate around the 1st of December being ready to post the position, because all of that work will have been done. The position of posting, the announcement, the brochure, all of those things are designed to attract candidates that feel that they are a great fit for Clark County based on what you said is important to you in that profile. And so at that point, around December 1st, posting that position, if you will recall, we talked to you when we were here before about we recommend that the position is posted around 6 weeks, which is a month and a half. In this case, if you take a look at the span of time that we're recommending for posting, it's a little different than that, but it also runs into the holidays. And so I want to pinpoint that, and there's some advantages to that in terms of candidates have an opportunity to take a look at the profile and do a self-reflection and determine if they feel that they are a good fit for the position and the story that is being told on with the announcement. So if we post December 1st to all of the website and the entities that we mentioned to you before, then we will run through December 2025 into January and look at closing applications around January 18th. So if we were to do that, if we're ready to post December 1, then it will be posted from December 1 through January 18th, that amount of time. So there's flexibility there, but we want you to think about it and think about that timeline as well. Notice that during the month of December, we make reference to the online community input survey. That's a part of the process as well. You see it listed for December because we recommend that you post that online survey if you choose to do it. You notice it's optional, but I think that based on the conversation we had initially that you are interested in that. And we recommend that it is posted in alignment with the position itself. So when you post on December 1, the community input survey also will be posted if you choose to move forward with that. Notice that below that, we also have December 2025 and/or January 2026, an optional opportunity for in-person community input sessions as well. Your board needs to think about that in terms of when and how you want to do that. We recommend that that runs in alignment in many ways with that virtual community input session as well, because you could potentially be ready to do the first input session during maybe the second week in December, and holidays will be upon you after that. Return from the holidays, there could be another input session during the week that you return, but you have flexibility on that. The other thing that you would want to think about would be geographically where in the community and how many input sessions you want to have in what locations you want to have those. The number of high schools, some choose to have it at 2 of the high schools or 3 of the high schools, or if there are regions of the district in terms of how the administration has divided the district. If there's an area 1, area 2, then sometimes there's a community input session in each of those areas. However, that's your decision in reference to that, and you have some time for that as well. I'll pause here before I move to the next, because I know I've gone through quite a few steps here, to see if there's some comments on anything that you've heard thus far, or questions.
I will ask that each member just ask one question and then allow other members to ask a follow-up before you move on to your next question. So are there any questions initially? Okay, I think we're ready to move. Ms. Davis.
How optimistic are you about this process?
I'm very optimistic about the process. Very optimistic about the process in terms of, and what I mean by that is, when you build the the profile. It reflects you in terms of what your needs are. Building it the way we described does give you an opportunity to attract those candidates that reflect a good fit for the district. In terms of numbers that would respond, that could vary. On the average, in terms of size of district and variables and demographics and challenges that are out there around CEOs leading districts at this point, you average between 20 to 25 candidates, sometimes in the 30s. It's hard to anticipate how many will respond based on those that feel that they're aligned to the job. As far as the process, very optimistic. There are steps, of course, that are going to be extremely important for your team. Much of this will be in executive session. We're in the public now because this is about process. My optimism centers on your team's interest in dotting I's and crossing T's in the process. That's important. The confidentiality behind the process is important. Candidates pay close attention to that when they determine whether they want to move forward and send their sensitive information in, because they want to trust that all involved will keep it confidential until it's time to go public. You will have all the information and, that you need to ensure that you're doing that. And so with that in mind, it should be a process that should attract candidates that should be a good fit.
Mr. Denson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just one question on the seeing that like the 2-week window needed by GSBA for confidential application packet evaluation. What I'm curious, like, what is the threshold that y'all go? Are y'all going to hand over all packets for us to review, or only ones that meet certain criteria? How does that look like?
Thank you for that question. You will receive all of the packets. If there are 30 candidates that respond and complete the packet successfully, the board will receive 100% of those packets in executive session. Those packets will be grouped in terms of group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4, based on how those candidates have responded and prepared those packets aligned to that profile that you would have created. Those things that you have said you're looking for, preferred attributes, required attributes, experience, all of those things that you would have said center on the things that are items that are important for Clark and Clark's next superintendent. So you will receive those packets. We will ensure that you know group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4. You will have information on those individuals, and you notice that this 2 weeks period reflects the reference check, the social media check, all of the educational check, all those things, licensure, eligibility for licensure, all of those things that come into play for that purpose. So, hope I answered that question.
Are there other questions? Okay. I have 2 questions. So, when we all met, we talked about the importance of maintaining privacy under federal law, right? Because this is all a matter of personnel, right? So it's protected under federal law. So if you could kind of walk us through some of the options that we have as board members to review packet materials and make sure that the materials do not get dispersed to the communities or other members or constituents unlawfully. If you could kind of walk us through what that might look like.
Right, sure. You're absolutely right. All of that's done, as I mentioned earlier, in executive session, and it is a personnel item. All of those meetings that we have with you will be posted as executive session for personnel for the purpose of the superintendent search for Clark County. Once that happens, we present those candidates to you. No papers change hands. What we're doing now, of course, is different. You will have a specific secure code individually that allows you to access those candidates. Each of you will be trained to do that. You're able to log in and begin to do the review in that manner. No manual process in terms of those papers or any of that information changing hands will occur. You will have your passwords that are secure and protected for that purpose. We train the board, bring a team in executive session to make sure you understand that. Now, the responsibility continues because once we do that, you've got X amount of time that you will determine is necessary for you to complete your review. That means that when we're gone, you're going to do some work with doing some individual review by accessing it securely and then coming together as a team without us. When you come together as a team without us after you've done your review, Open Meetings Act and requirements come into play. You'll post that meeting as an executive session for personnel for the purpose of superintendent search as well. You meet in executive session, you will review those packets, you will talk about those that you feel should be reviewed and interviewed in the first round. You will come to that conclusion and make those decisions. You would notify us of that. This information is only to be discussed and shared amongst your colleagues, board members, your fellow board member colleagues. It is not to be shared outside of colleagues. That's where you get into the legal aspect of it, because that confidentiality has to be exercised by you in this process. Remember that candidates do not have to maintain their confidentiality. They can say, I applied for the job. They can do that. But sometimes what happens is that stakeholders will approach community members or board members to say, you know, we think that Joe Blow is really a good candidate and we know that he has applied for the job. So we hope you give him or her a good look. Your response to that is a thank you for your information. However, we're not able to discuss a personnel matter during the superintendent search process. So we can't talk about whether a candidate has submitted or not. You have to stay true to that. Some examples of why, although, you know, it's a justification enough to know that the law requires it. But when you dig into the why behind that, you know, you have candidates that could be sitting superintendents, you have candidates that are high-level deputies, you have candidates that decide that they want to submit, go through the interview, et cetera, and not be exposed at that point. And if there's a leak and a candidate gets exposed and then, you know, back home, it damages them back home, then they can allege that that damage came from the board and file suit. We don't expect any of that to happen, but those are the things we talk about during that particular training period in terms of confidentiality. So long response to your question, but that is a vital piece of the integrity of the process and also a vital piece in attracting highly qualified candidates. Because everything that we're talking about now, highly qualified candidates already know that that's how you're supposed to function. And if they see that you aren't, then they'll either withdraw their names or won't submit showing interest. So great question, but very important. Any additional comments? Anything I missed? Okay.
Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that, and I think that that's a really important precedent to set when we're talking about these conversations in the public and also in executive session. So I appreciate that. Do other members? Dr. Gant?
I just had a follow-up question regarding the training that's going to take place that will give board members access to like the application packets. In the event that someone struggles, like with either technology or platforms, or I mean, it can be a significant learning curve, what other options might exist?
Yes. In cases like that, we ask you to pair up. That person will pair up with a colleague, with someone else who already has access if that person struggles with accessing it. Now, there's nothing to preclude any of you from making copies, but we caution you against that. If you're going to do that with a candidate who has some tech challenges, then you have to ensure that you're shredding or destroying those documents accordingly. What teams do in that case is they find a critical supporter for that person, but a member of the board, of course, to be side by side with that person to walk them through that process they can share the device, look at the information, talk through it, or, you know, have various sessions to do that. That's what we recommend for that. Don't recommend that you involve any other outside parties. That's why it needs to stay amongst the board. So think about that. If you have someone that needs that kind of support, then you support them in that manner. And we're always here for questions. We have tech people that work on this platform also. And you can give phone calls to our person. Our person will help walk that person through as well. But we're not handing copies out for that for obvious reasons.
Mr. Denson, you had a question? Okay. Others? Ms. Davis, Ms. Bagby? No? Okay. We good? Okay, well, we really appreciate your presentation, and we look forward to working with you all for this search process. The one thing I will ask is, we as board members, because there are so many of us, need very concrete deadlines. So when you say November, 99% of us are going to function on November 32nd. So I will say having some very concrete deadlines established for board members to complete surveys or to have things ready for you to make the next steps will be very, very helpful for us.
Sure.
And this timeline was really, really helpful, and we really appreciate that, and we'll have more conversations about it at our board
Let me
retreat.
offer a couple of quick additional thoughts, because I paused right at the point of the possible in-person community piece.
Oh, yeah, continue, please.
And then, so following that, as you get into the application close, we did talk a bit about 2 weeks rule of thumb will be needed once it's closed to do the assessment and evaluation to be ready to meet with you. So you see that particular piece. And so that's why you see the week of February 9, deliver applications to the board. So at some point, probably during that week, we will have agreed upon when you are available to do an executive session for us to present candidates to you within that window. Notice that there could be some fluctuation. It could be sooner, it could be later, depending on how things go during that process. So that's what deliver applications to the board refers to. On the back, once that happens and we deliver those applications, we start the training process for how to review the candidates. We also start the training process for how to prepare to interview candidates. So that's a part of it as well, because remember, you're going to receive whole board credit for this process too. So that comes with the package. So on the back, you see that there's a reference to redetermine for interviews. In keeping with the timeline, if you are reviewing them at the point that we have pinpointed, we'll determine with you the kind of timeline you need to review candidates and come back together to select those that you want to interview for the first round. And we'll agree on this with you based on your schedule when you're ready to begin first round interviews. But we anticipate that those interviews in the executive session will be during the month of March. Of course, we will add more definitive dates to it when we are closer to that, much closer, because we'll know what you have decided. So all of that training in terms of developing research-based questions that you ask during the interviews, we prepare you for that. We provide the bank of questions aligned to each standard and the indicators that gives you a jump start, which means that you can use those or merge questions together and create your own from those questions, but it keeps you within those guardrails to ensure that inappropriate questions are not asked. Because during training, you're going to realize that some things you're not able to ask during an interview. So we take care of that as well. The finalist piece you see here in reference to the law. When we were here before, we talked about the first round interviews, second round interviews. When you call people back, that's why you see interviews month of March. Once you do that, you should be very close to being ready to announce finalists. Finalists singular or finalists plural. Typically, that means up to 3. You can announce 3, 2, or 1. And at that point, once you do that announcement, or prepare to do that announcement, we, of course, get permission from the candidate to go public. That's the first meeting that you will have outside of executive session when you meet and announce who your finalist is. or are. That's when information will go public for that. We provide the legally redacted packet for you that you will post on your site so that the media and any other stakeholders can read extensively about the candidates. That's when this 14-day waiting period that you see on the back, that's required by law, then begins. So you have to wait 14 days after that announcement before you can meet and do your permanent choice announcement, 15th day or beyond. And that's why that's referenced here, and you see that approximately the month of May appointment of the superintendent is listed at that point. Want to just touch on those things. This is not the first time you heard this, but it is the first time you've seen it on an actual timeline for you. So I wanted to make sure we walk through that process as well. If there are other questions about what we presented to you when we were here before that you need to touch on or review now, be a good time for us to do so. We can do that as well if you need it.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the last part? Okay. Is everybody feeling pretty confident? Oh, Mrs. Davis?
Are you guys going to be here for a minute to the end of the session, or are you leaving now?
We were going to leave if you were done with us, with the questioning part.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, I have another question. I'll just follow up later. Thank you.
anybody, any member of the team can make contact with us at any time that you need to. So just let us know.
I would also encourage board members, if we do have questions for GSBA, this is the space to do that. So, Dr. Gant?
I think I heard you mention this, but I just wanted to be sure. Where it says in-person community input sessions for December and January, there is flexibility in the event that that needs to go, let's just say if it needs to go into end of January, February, how much? Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
This is just to give you, some examples.
Okay.
Those sessions can take place whenever the board decides.
Okay.
What we recommend to you is that just as we were recommending that you post that input survey at the same time the announcement is posted, there's a reason for that. Because the information is gathered from those virtual input surveys, the one that's a community virtual survey, as well as the in-person survey, that information is analyzed and compiled and sent back to you in an executive summary.
Okay.
You then use that information when we begin the training process for interviewing to help inform you about the kinds of questions that you might want to consider during the interview. So the only thing that we would kind of urge you to consider in that regard would be to do those sessions if you choose to do them in a timely manner where we're able to give you the analysis back from the in-person session so that you have time to consider how that might impact questions that you use during the interview.
Mm-hmm.
But to answer your question, it does not have to be any of these times that we have here. It's up to you.
Thank you.
Okay. So we're flexible a little bit with our timelines. Mrs. Davis, you still had a question?
So just for transparency's sake, you mentioned some districts are going to CEOs, and I just wanted to have a conversation about that, but not now, because this is about our superintendent search, but I would like to understand how that is happening across the state.
Okay. Did you want to respond to that, Dr. King, or are you good for
Well,
now?
I'm thinking that in reference to the language of CEO, the superintendent functioning as a CEO is what you mean, right? Yeah. In most cases, that language is used. It doesn't change the title of superintendent, but superintendent philosophy functioning as the CEO means the superintendent functions as a member of the governance team. In terms of the board, obviously functioning as that policy-making body, but the superintendent being a responsible member of the governance team to bring recommendations to the board. The CEO aspect of that is the person functions as a facilitator in that process as well, where he or she is ensuring that they're implementing policies that you have. You're holding that person accountable for implementing the policies that you have. That also you have a living, breathing, vibrant vibrant blueprint and a strategic plan, that person as a CEO is responsible for implementing that strategic plan. Much of the language and philosophy that you've talked about and have begun to champion already. So that's a philosophy around the superintendent function as a CEO of the board.
All right, are there any other questions? Dr. Gant, your light's on. Do you have questions? Okay. All right, well, thank you so much for your presentation and this introduction of the timeline. I see a lot of concrete deadlines on this timeline, and that is very, very helpful. But to the extent that you all are able to, send pings and let us know that this deadline is approaching before you can make the next steps, that would be really, really helpful. And for board members, when we get the email to complete the survey, we need to do that as soon as we can so that they can do their analytics and make sure that they've got an announcement prepared that meets, the responses that we've made in the surveys. And if no one has any other questions, we will go ahead and move on to our next agenda item. Okay, all right. Thank you so much, GSBA, for your presentations. We really appreciate you coming out tonight. Thank you.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Where are we? Okay, we will move on to item 8B, which is the strategic plan year 2 results and year 3 targets.
All right. Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Scott, and board members. I'm Donna Elder. I'm serving as the interim deputy superintendent, and it's my pleasure to share with you your strategic plan, the work that we did last year, and then moving forward this year. So this evening we'll start with your timeline of the strategic plan, look at our year 2 results and some of those actions that led to the results, and then moving into this year, year 3, gaining and sustaining success. So just to give a visual, our year 1, we are currently in year 3. Year 1 held a lot of new things on the plates of our teachers and staff. We had new curriculum. We also had K-12 math standards from the state of Georgia. The H-Bill 538, the early literacy law, was passed, which required us to adopt high-quality instructional materials. You'll hear me refer to that as HQIM. It also required specific professional learning and endorsements, along with screenings for dyslexia and reading disability. We also, in that same year, we did move forward and adopted high-quality instructional materials for K-5, and we implemented intensive PL as we rolled out the new curriculum resource. In 24 and 25, last year, we moved forward with a literacy implementation plan that was created by our literacy leadership team, and our focus was creating a culture of literacy and really coming to consensus on our beliefs as a school district on literacy. In that same time, we also supported our teachers through all of last year, completing the certification requirements on the Georgia Literacy Academy. These were Learning Wednesdays that teachers participated in each month in order to meet that certification requirement. We also adopted 612 ELA curriculum, and it was year 2 for our new K-5 curriculum. So lots of learning for our leaders and our teachers. Here we are this year, and not only do we have new curriculum, but the state of Georgia also moved forward with K-12 new ELA standards. So last year, we did preparation for full implementation this year, and we're in year 3 of our high-quality instructional materials. This year, we've really focused in on K-12 high-leverage practices. So what are the practices that are going to maximize student learning in the classroom, with the hopes of teachers really internalizing the new standards and how these resources are used to increase student learning. Looking ahead, we're going to continue with high leverage practices with the support of our state partners, and looking ahead, doing audits to make sure that our alignment is clear between the new state standards and the resources that we've vetted, as well as the assessments that we use to monitor student growth. So if you remember, there are 3 big rocks in that strategic plan. Thriving students is one of those big rocks. We completed over 1,000 walkthroughs with our leaders and instructional coaches. This really helped us calibrate around what was happening in the classroom and the support needs of our teachers. We looked at the fidelity of implementation of the literacy and math resources, and we created professional learning around that. Our challenges last year was really helping teachers internalize the new literacy resource and how we were readying the implementation of the new curriculum, the new ELA standards. We are developing last year, really developing our leaders to redeliver the type of professional learning that was needed and giving them the skills they needed to be able to support teachers in the classroom with this huge challenge. We also had to calibrate with leaders on our expectations across K-12. So really last year was about sustaining and really system-wide implementation, and how do we decrease the variability between classrooms so that all students are getting strong instruction. So what did that yield? What were the results of that? So over 3 years, our ELA and math proficiency among Black students in grades 3-8 increased 2 points and 5 points respectively. So our math is improving faster than our ELA, but that's to be expected given the length of time that our teachers have had the new curriculum resource and the new math standards. Overall, math proficiency among students in grades 3-8 rose 4 points. And we are very excited about first-time 9th graders gaining 8 credits in their 9th grade year. We know that 9th grade success is second only to 3rd grade when it comes to predicting graduation. So we were very excited about 74%, and that was a strong increase year over year. Overall challenges were the students reading on or above grade level at 3-8. It's remained very stagnant at 54%, although our 3rd graders were the bright light, and we'll speak a little bit about that shortly. So let's talk about graduation rate, because that's what matters. That's the long-term goal. We're happy to report that our graduation rate in the last 3 years we have gained 6 points in the last 3 years. We were the lowest in the state at 77%, and we're excited to say that we have moved to 83%. Let's dig a little deeper and celebrate the fact that we had a 10.6 gain in our students with disabilities graduating, which was very exciting. Our Black students had an increase of 6.1, and Classic City, which is our non-traditional high school, They celebrated 76.3 graduation rate, which is the highest they've ever had. So that was moving in the right direction, and very exciting for that, for the school and the work they've done. I referenced the increase in the number of ninth graders who gained 8 credits by the end of their ninth grade year. This does not include if I'm taking a ninth grade class in 8th grade. These were only the true ninth graders, and you can see that we've made significant gains there. That's a great predictor of where we're headed, because ninth grade, if you get that right, you're likely going to graduate on time. This is the work, our 3 through 8 on the Georgia milestones. The students reading at or above grade level has remained very constant if you look at the group as a whole. However, if you dig in a little further, you can see that our 3rd grade reading grew to over 60% on or above grade level. And this is important because these are the students who started with the Science of Reading curriculum in kindergarten and got the high quality instructional materials all the way kindergarten through 3rd grade. So that tells us that our teachers are teaching, and they are understanding how to deliver that curriculum in a way that students are learning to read by 3rd grade. So this is a move in the right direction, and we do believe we'll continue to see gains there. So let's talk about optimizing talent. That's a second big rock for us. We are excited to see that our Aspiring Principals Academy and the mentor support for new principals has been well received and well attended. So we're excited to provide that, and we do think that is one of the reasons that our retention rate for leaders is high, and we're sustaining and keeping our leaders. One of the challenges that we faced is in-house talent, being able to impact our district professional learning and giving our teachers choice and their voice in what they're learning. And it was evident in their perception data after the professional learning that we delivered. So I'll talk about that in just a little bit. You're going to see a visual of that. We think we have pivoted and moving in the right direction. Our optimizing talent, if you look at the satisfaction rate of how I feel about my supervisor based on the district survey that we're giving annually, you can see that we're up 6 points. So we believe that our leaders are listening and delivering leadership and building cultures where teachers want to teach and staff want to stay. One of our challenges is the district increased our leadership capacity. It decreased over 10 points, and I'm going to reference that again with that visual because that goes along with the teacher satisfaction as well. But we are happy to report the big success is our leader retention rate increased 3 points over 3 years to 88%, which is on par with the state. Our teacher retention remained constant at 82, which is below the Georgia average of 90%. So speaking of our leader retention, this just shows that when you look at Clark County compared to our RESA, which are the surrounding districts in our Northeast Georgia RESA, as well as statewide, we are on par with retaining leaders, and that's very exciting because superintendents and principals are hard to come by, the good ones. So we are delighted that we are doing the right work to maintain those leaders. We have here, if you look at this graph, it's teachers feeling supported on exit surveys. So number one, I'm excited that we're listening to people leaving our district because they have an opportunity to give us lots of good information about what we can do to retain others. And in 2025, 66% reported feeling supported, which is really strong, and it increased 8 points year over year. So here's some challenges with our optimizing of our talent. If you notice in 2024, that bottom number, teachers were really excited about applying their work and the type of professional learning we were offering were connected. They felt like it was going to make positive impacts on student outcomes. And we had a sharp drop in 2025, and it begs me to say, why did that happen? There was a couple of things going on here. In 2024, it was the first time that Clark County had done district-wide professional learning in several years. So I think we came out with a bang. They were very excited to see job-alike peers and being able to learn together. Then the state adopted House Bill for the Literacy Act and required teachers to meet requirements for their certification on the science of reading. And we believe that that very directed top-down approach definitely spoke to the decline in the excitement our teachers had about our professional learning. What was clear is that they wanted choice, and based on our feedback from July convocation this past July, I can report that we have more than made up space from that 66%. They were very excited about having choice and self-selecting their learning. And we are preparing right now for our November 4th District Learning Day, and we're using the same model so that teachers will have, again, the choice in what they're learning on their District Learning Day. I may have skipped one. All right, so let's talk about connected culture. One of our big celebrations last year was the Leader in Me implementation of the character framework and how that embeds with our positive behavior intervention and supports, also known as PBIS. We were prepared and excited about the state grant that we got to implement Leader in Me, and our leaders and our teachers bought in quickly, and I think we can see by the gentleman that stood up here exhibiting habit number 1 of the leader and doing great things, that we really have had strong implementation of this character program and lots of buy-in from students and teachers. We've also built community partnerships. One of the highlights there is the Coaching for Success and our Youth Development Initiative, where students in elementary schools are playing sports after school, and while half the team is working on their sports, the other half have mentors from UGA, and those students have character leadership curriculum written in-house by us, and they're delivering those one-on-one and small group interactions in order for those students to get additional character ed in addition to their sports. So this has been a lot of fun. We don't have Mr. Payne has exited, but Timothy Road, I think, holds the basketball championship, and it's become quite the highlight, is playing our sports. So we are really excited about that program. One of the challenges that we saw last year, this was across the state, is the students and their surveys about how they feel about school and their learning, their safety. And it was clear that students felt unsafe at school, and more specifically, they felt unsafe in the restrooms. This was across all grade bands. This was across the state of Georgia. And so it's the first time with a new type of survey that we were able to dig down into where do you feel the most unsafe? And by far, it was the restrooms across the state and across our schools that students felt unsafe. We'll get to that a little more. I want to start with a celebration. Our communications and PR department is a wonderful liaison, both internally and externally. And one of the pivots that they made that has increased, I think, access for 20% plus of our population is the easy and efficient way to translate documents. If you can imagine there's always something that we need to push out to our parents to be able to communicate with them, but it's important that we provide that in a translated form so that we can provide it in multiple language. So if you look over the past 3 years, we have obviously improved our processes and the ease of doing that work. And so there's a celebration that we can talk about there. So let's turn back to the extremely safe, feeling safe or extremely safe in the restrooms. You'll notice that in elementary schools, our students felt safer than the state elementary. So none of that's good because over half don't feel unsafe. They do feel unsafe, but we were higher than the state, whereas at middle and high, 37% and 32% for high school. Not many of our students are feeling safe there, so what that says to us is that we have to look at the way we're master scheduling, the duty schedules, and how we're implementing our positive behavior matrix. So are we explicitly teaching expectations for hallway, for restroom, for behavior across our schools, but most importantly, what are we doing in the structures of our schools that can help students? So what are we going to do? We did ask specifically for the issue of safety that all of our schools put an action step in their school improvement plan that addresses restroom safety. So practicing those habits and looking clearly at your master schedule and making sure you don't make very simple mistakes like allowing a 3rd grade recess to be coming in as a 5th grade might be exiting, and that restroom now has 2 grade levels. So it's being very intentional about how you're scheduling and making sure you have the adults where they belong. And as I call it, zone defense. You really do have to have your staff in the right place to keep students safe. Thriving students. So what are we doing? We're continuing with our implementation, and we are evaluating the needs of our teachers based on the new standards and that alignment with our resource. And we have recognized there are challenges with aligning the new standard and resources, and we are currently working to identify those gaps and then provide the teachers those additional resources and training. We are aligning our leader and our teacher professional learning on their monthly professional learning at the district level, and we're very excited to say that leaders are the ones going back to their building and delivering to their teachers these instructional practices, and we think moving our principals to a place where they're considered the instructional leaders is important in improving outcomes. And so begrudgingly, they did it in August, and I think they got such great feedback that they were much greater in September, and they were much happier about it. So the outcome in September, we went into classrooms, all the leaders and instructional coaches, and we job alike. And I think they came back with a lot of calibration and conversation. And so what looked like a really big mountain in August has turned into what I think is going to be some of the stronger professional learning that we deliver. And then finally, we're going to continue with clear, consistent behavioral expectations to reduce the time that students are out of the classroom and increase their time in the classroom. So that's a quick wrap. I'm happy to take questions or take feedback back to our team.
For a point of clarification before we start the questions, what do you mean increase the time inside of the classroom versus outside of the classroom? Can you clarify that real quick?
Yes. So when students and teachers have high expectations of how they are learning and their behavior expected at school, students are more successful in the classroom. when there are behaviors and our teachers don't have the tools to deal with those behaviors, many of them just avoidance behaviors because they're not successful in a classroom, that leads to time out of the classroom. One of the other glaring issues here and across the nation is attendance since COVID. I don't know if you've heard about that on the news, but our attendance rates have not returned to that normal 10 to 12%, and nationwide it's finally dropped to 20. And that is time out of the classroom. Every day a student's not there, it's 6 hours of learning. So not only attendance, but behavior supports, making sure we put those together.
Okay, thank you. So you mean discipline, instructional support, that's not happening in the classroom and attendance? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Mrs. Bagby?
Hi, Ms. Bagby. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. I have two questions. The first question is, you said, I want to know what you're talking about, the children are not feeling safe in the bathrooms. I want to know, what have you done to make sure that they are safer? Like, do you have monitors? Or you said that you didn't want them to, the fifth graders to cross paths with the third graders. Are you saying that adults don't go in the bathrooms, but the children go unattended?
That's correct. So students do go unattended into the restroom, but our expectations at elementary school, given the example, is that teachers are right outside the restroom and that there's a duty schedule to ensure adults, teachers, or paraprofessionals are nearby to monitor. And then we encourage students to come, see something, say something, so that we can address it. There are also some structural issues that I think led to that we're addressing through our school improvement plans.
And the other question is, you said that there was a drop in the teachers. You lost a certain amount of teachers because of, I think you were saying because of a reading or some type of, I don't know if it was some type of educational problem that the teachers were inefficient in, or you said that you had a drop in teachers.
So our teacher retention is lower than our leader retention, and it is sitting at 82%, which is below the 90% state average. So we looked deeper to say, why are teachers leaving? And what we found was the overwhelming reason that teachers are leaving are for retirement or relocation. And that's exciting. Lots of times in this county, teachers begin their career here, and then after they finish their studies and masters and so on, then they go either back home or relocate. But we were able to confirm that those were the top two reasons, which does speak to the work we're doing in the right way.
And I have one more question, and I'll leave you alone.
Mrs.
No,
Bagby,
ma'am.
do you mind letting other members speak first?
Okay.
We have a 2 to 3 minute, and then we'll circle back to you. Other members? Mr. Denson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you for this very thorough presentation. It's definitely helpful. Going back to, we talked about choice, how our staff, especially spoke that they really responded that they wanted to have some choice from the top down. They didn't respond that well. And I've definitely heard that from a number of teachers also. Specifically, one of the things, and I wonder if this is something that we could find a way to get input on, has been kind of going back again, but like curriculum and curriculum packages that the school purchases. And teachers, rightfully so, feeling like they're experts with this kind of stuff because they engage with it daily and teach it. I've definitely gotten a lot of feedback that teachers really wish that the district would engage with the teachers who actually are going to be the ones implementing the curriculum when we're trying to figure out what kind of curriculum packages that we're going to purchase and use. And I've gotten a lot of that feedback from this the last few years that, you know, and I think if we had that happening in a proactive way, you know, we probably would see improved buy-in from the teachers who are having to implement this. Do we have any kind of method of that, of getting input before we purchase curriculum packages, of kind of getting feedback from the teachers?
That's a great question, and I do think that in the past, yes, Dr.
Are you good? Do you want me to answer it, or are you good? Okay. So there is an adoption process that does include representation from the schools. And so there's teacher representation that sits on the adoption process. It goes through an RFP where curriculum companies are able to submit, and then those teachers that are representatives would then review all of those and score them using a rubric that they have developed that's submitted to the companies. And then there's also a period of time where it's open for anyone to come in and review all of the resources that are being considered before a final decision is made and submitted to you all as board members for approval.
Okay. I appreciate that explanation, and yeah, it also gives me some ways to maybe answer back when I'm getting some of the teachers who are concerned about that coming to me. The last question I had was just, about the safety. And I was just looking over the Georgia School Climate Survey. The survey is very long.
Yes, it is.
It's a little concerning. 73 questions on there that these kids are being asked to go through. It's a lot. And do we have any kind of more local adapted ways that we can get, you know, some kind of surveying there, like that's one less rigorous of a survey, but also that we can get a little more specifics on our districts and stuff?
That's a great question.
Can I add a point of clarification for
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Denson that may be helpful? That's a public health initiated survey. So the metrics, the data points on that survey not only speak to instructional effectiveness, but they also speak to school health safety, student satisfaction, emotional well-being. It speaks to many, many points that are super important, and the only way to gather that is in one complete survey. Because if you try to gather that in multiple surveys, you would be sending out 20 surveys. So I just want to make it clear that survey is very intentionally long, and it's a requirement for students, and that is one of the only ways in the public health and educational community that we can gather those metrics. So when you say that, you're being, it's not the most effective way to talk about how we gather metrics.
That's fine. I think I also do have a valid point that if you're asking a sixth grader to take a 73-question survey, that we can look at other ways. I'm not trying to attack anybody. I'm bringing up my own perspective here. And I don't think we need to be defensive about some of my perspective, just what I'm bringing forward. But again, my question was just if there was any kind of way that locally that we could have it crafted towards the more specific issues that are focusing and impacting Clark County School District students, that we can get that information to.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry.
No, continue. Thank you.
So what we encourage our leaders to do once that survey comes in, and it is a lot of information, is for them to tease down and find what's impacting their school. And so once they identify what's wrong in their school, what do they have control over, that's what we encourage them to put in their school improvement plan. And then local schools do short surveys just on those particular questions, and they do those periodically as like a progress monitoring throughout the year, so that they can see and predict what they think those gains would be at the end, so that we're not causing them to take the longer survey multiple times.
But I want to make it clear that survey is very important.
It is.
It serves
It
multiple
brings-
purposes
Yeah.
across so many disciplines and metrics for our public well-being. So to say that a long survey, I think, is a dangerous thing to say in this landscape right now, and I just want to make it clear that that's an important survey to gather information on where our students are on so many metrics. And it's the one space that we get to do that. So, Mrs. Bagby?
Yes, ma'am. So I would like for you to share with me, and so on this survey, you're given a survey and you want recommendations on some things that's concerning the school system?
That is the feedback that we're asking for, so that we can take the feedback of our students, our teachers, and our staff to guide the improvement process.
All right. Well, the reason I'm asking is because I would like to know, how do we get legislation, law, to get the teachers to go inside the bathrooms, have monitors inside there? Because I know of a student that did not use the bathroom for 1 year because of bullying and several other incidents. And so that's my concern. I want monitors in the bathrooms. And so how do we get legislation to get the safety, not just the teachers outside the bathroom, because somebody needs to be in there to protect children that are being bullied?
Dr. Scott, would you like to speak to that?
So I don't know that it's so much legislation as much as it's processes and procedures within our schools.
Ma'am.
So I don't know that there's legislation that's necessary as much as it's the expectation and processes and procedures around the use of the restroom. And so with that, thinking about what does that look like specifically at our middle and high schools, where there is greater levels of autonomy for students and greater levels of freedom for students. And I think that that's part of what our middle and high schools are looking at, is more structures in place to determine what would be the appropriate times for restroom breaks, monitoring who's out of class at certain times. So many of them are going through to an electronic hall pass. So, for example, if you know that Johnny is in Miss Thomas's class and Bobby is in Miss Smith's class, and they've decided that they're gonna meet up in the restroom during this class period at this time, when they go to ask to go to the restroom, the teachers through the electronic hall pass are able to see, no, we're not gonna send kids out, or they're able to ask for assistance from the administration or other support staff to monitor the restroom because they're sending students out to use the restroom. And so I think that those are some of the things that our schools are looking at, but then also just reminding students, as Dr. Elder shared, the expectations for in the restroom, and then also looking at ensuring that there are true systems in place for monitoring throughout those class periods, and then having that structured break time so that they can know what's going on in the restrooms.
Mrs. Davis?
Thank you. Given the ELA reading levels, the math reading levels, and the surveys, what is the relationship between that? If we are not performing so high on the literacy piece of this, what confidence do we have in the surveys being administered, that the kids are comprehending what's happening? And I guess the second part of that question is, are these online, or is there any supervision in administering these so that we can kind of help monitor those results? Thank you.
Yes, we do frame those surveys, and we do take them very seriously. Those surveys are actually developmentally appropriate, and they are different based on the age of the student. And we encourage teachers, especially the students that are much younger, to put those students in small groups so that they have the support, so that they're able. The good news is for the youngest ones, they have like smiley faces and frowny faces, so it really does give them access to be able to express their perceptions and their opinions. So although it's long, I do think it's developmentally appropriate.
And does that carry through to middle and high school, or is still the something they've got to read and comprehend?
Well, comprehension is certainly one of our big focuses for literacy, right? That's how you measure the literacy. So I believe there probably is variance in what their understanding may or may not be. I think it being developmentally appropriate, they're using the lowest Lexile levels when writing those STEMs questions. Dr. Scott, do you have any other input to that?
Yeah, okay. I think you answered that appropriately, so we appreciate that. Mrs. Davis, if you have follow-ups, you're welcome to reach out to Dr. Scott, as an intermediary for our fellow staff. But we have been on this topic for a pretty long time, so I think we're ready to move on. Yeah, so thank you so much for that presentation on the metrics for year 3. And again, board members, you are encouraged to reach out with the district staff if you have pressing questions that you want additional information on, or you just kind of want to dig deeper into. And, they can give you more metrics to sort of help everyone get a better grasp of what's happening. All right, so I think we are ready to move on to our next agenda item, and I think that it's the information side. Okay. All right, it's our facilities updates, and we have our SPLOST monthly report. Mr. Gilbreth, if you will.
Good evening, board members. Again, we're going to do update by slides tonight. I think we get more from the photos than we do the numbers and me talking, but. So I'm happy to report that the Clark Middle solar system is online. This is a snapshot from earlier in the week of actual the panel that's reading the kilowatt hours that are being generated. And as we get further into it, I'll kind of bring you some data and updates on that. So hopefully that was kind of the last piece on Clark Middle, and probably next month I'll be bringing you the closeout documents to sign that project off. Any questions on Clark Middle? Okay. So next one are our other slides of the other projects. Ms. Palmer. So Cedar Shoals, we'll start with Cedar. This is a picture of the baseball field, the expanded parking lot. We've got the lights in there, so we do have our lighting for the parking area. Paving is complete up to the baseball field and the new press box. You can kind of see it off in the distance. This is an aerial shot of the baseball field work. That's complete. The next slide down is the actual press box and concession stand. We're about 90% complete with it and hope to get that wrapped up in the next 2 weeks. That's another overview. This is the softball field. It's complete and is being utilized by the school. So we're pretty much finishing up the exterior components of Cedar. We have, this weekend, we're putting in the main entry doors. That was a change that we did, and the doors and hardware have finally come in, so trying to get that taken care of and then kind of working through our punch list. Any questions on Cedar? All right, next one is Gaines Elementary. First picture was a snapshot of the contractor where he mobilized and set up his construction trailer. We work daily with Principal Nobles and her staff to ensure student safety and staff safety. We actually have an access road that we've built around the playground to get us to the work area and the expanded portions of the school that we're doing. Next photo is the 3 additions, the 2 classroom additions on each wing. Footings have been poured, and the plumber's actually starting to rough in some of the plumbing work. This is an overhead shot of the foundation work. Next couple slides are the stormwater and sewer relocation that has to be done. These are materials that have been set in place, and we're kind of working around the modular units in the existing school. So that work should be ongoing as we speak. Also, the roof replacement is beginning to start next week. Materials being delivered, and they'll start doing the roof replacement. I know that's been a kind of a major concern we've had for that school, and it's definitely in need for a new roof. And then here's just the professional learning area where we started some demo on it. So we're pretty much got them surrounded, but trying to work as fast as we can to get done and get out of their way. And the last one is just a photo update for the district services warehouse. The ductwork installation is about complete. We hope to energize those units this week, clean up, and then we'll put some shelving in there and have the staff start using that space. Any questions?
Mrs. Davis.
Quick question, is there any solar on the addition to the facilities building here?
No, we didn't plan for anything at that, on that structure.
Okay, thank you. Oh, so you know the baseball field looks great, right? Thank you, good job on that.
Other questions? Okay. I have just one. With some of these recommendations, I know board members have mentioned several times in the past having sort of the storm water and the drainage situation be remedied for gains so that the playground situation and the recreational spaces aren't flooded on
Yeah,
a continual basis?
That's part of this process.
That's part of this remediation?
Yeah, we're actually gonna put in several playground new structures. So we've got to kind of work all the drainage systems around that. So we'll make sure we incorporate that.
And then my last question is there a plan to have conversations with the new sustainability director on how to install solar and other energy efficient?
Actually, I think on the personnel report tonight, we have a recommendation for the sustainability person, and they will work with our department, kind of looking at the recommendations from the report and see how we implement it and see what makes sense in going forward.
Okay, so equity will be installed in terms of recreation for the kids at Gaines School?
Yes.
Okay. Are there other questions from board members? I don't think we have a quorum anymore.
No, we do have quorum.
Oh, we do, okay, okay. Are there other questions from board members? Okay, all right, thank you. You may, Community Oversight Committee report?
Well, we haven't had a meeting this month.
Okay.
The report you have is from last month, and I actually think I updated you last month because that meeting was held before the board meeting, so you're looking at last month's report. But we have a meeting scheduled next Tuesday, and we'll have a report that'll update you at that time. One thing we are doing facility-wise, this weekend, we'll be working at Barrow Elementary, replacing the air conditioning units as part of our, I think it was 5-school package where we were upgrading some of the air conditioning units. So we will be at Barrow doing work this weekend as well.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gilbreth. I think we're done with facilities updates. Next up, we have the consent agenda. Unfortunately, I wasn't here for the work session, so hopefully we are good with what's, okay. So on the consent agenda, we have policy, and just as a reminder to the community, the consent agenda are discussions that we had at the work session that would be placed for a unilateral vote as one sort of agreement. And on the consent agenda are policy JR, student records approval, the September work session and board meeting minutes, the Clark Central High School tennis court repairs, field trips, and amendments to the 26-27 academic calendar. Does anyone have any comments to make before we make a motion? Or, no, let's make a motion and then we can.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
All right, motion made by Mr. Denson, seconded by Mrs. Davis. Now the floor is open for any comments, suggestions, questions. Okay, so the motion is on the floor. All in favor of approving the consent agenda items, raise your hand high and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I think that motion passes unanimously. Mrs. Palmer, you're welcome to tell me if I'm wrong. Okay, next up we have the financial report and approval. Mr. Greiner.
Great, thank you, Dr. Anderson. Members members of the board. You have the August financials in front of you. Pulled up there. So 2 months into the new fiscal year, actual revenues were a little bit higher by about 265,000. Over budgeted, actual expenditures were a little bit more than budgeted, about 103,000. Still, no concerns there this early into the year. Fund balance, this is when we kind of hit our lowest point of fund balance as our tax revenues start coming in. September and then October 20th being the deadline. So we'll get the bulk of our tax revenues will come in over the next few weeks. Mortgage companies typically pay those all at one time, so we get a large deposits. Probably starting in the next couple weeks, we'll start getting really, really large deposits. So our fund balance, a little over 28 million. We had budgeted right at about 28 million this time of the year. That will grow, of course. We'll hit our highest levels October, November, December, and it'll start coming back now. So I think Dr. Anderson, I did fix that with the fund balance. I know last time you pointed out. So yeah, I just tweaked that a little bit. So now it should look a little bit better. So we don't have all the zeros on there anymore. So, I'll be happy to answer any questions y'all have. We have started our FY25 audit. The goal is that will be done by December. So we're working with Malden and Jenkins on that. So.
Yes, and just as a reminder to the community, we will have conversations with you about the upcoming budget planning process at our retreat next week. So
Yes, ma'am.
people are welcome to attend. It's open to the public. Other questions from board members? Okay. Okay. All right. So I think we are ready to move forward with accepting the financial report as presented. If anyone wants to make a motion.
I'll make a motion for us to accept the August 2025 financial reports.
I'll second.
All right, motion made by Mr. Denson and seconded by Mrs. Davis. All in favor, raise your hand high, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Greiner. Now we are on the business items for individual vote. And the first is the personnel addendum. There's not a discussion to be had in public conversation, but is everyone good to move forward with making a motion?
Personnel report?
Yes. Mrs.
Yes,
Davis?
I move that we approve the personnel report as presented.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, motion made by Mrs. Davis and seconded by Mr. Evans. No discussion. All in favor of approving the personnel addendum and personnel report as presented, please raise your hand high and say aye.
Aye.
Clarification, was that the addendum and the report or just the report?
Just the
Oh,
It was just the
I'm sorry, just the addendum. Is the report not included as a part of the?
It's two separate.
Okay.
It's two separate.
Oh,
She just
okay.
said
So my motion was
Okay.
for the report,
Not the addendum.
correct.
Okay. So maybe let's,
Back it up, I'm sorry.
okay, so we need to back it up then, and perhaps you can make a substitute motion for what you want us to vote on, Mrs. Davis?
Or can I just withdraw the motion? I heard you
Right.
say report.
Oh, she said report?
You said
Oh, I'm
report.
so sorry. Okay, I thought we were on addendum. Okay, all right.
And then we'll go back to the addendum.
Okay. No, that's fine. Yes, we can do that. Yes, that's fine. Okay, all in favor of approving the personnel report? So that's item 12B. Please raise your hand high and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and that motion passes unanimously. And now we're back to item 12A, the personnel addendum.
Make a motion that we accept the personnel addendum as written.
Second.
Okay, that motion's made by Mr. Evans and seconded by Dr. Gant. So we will vote for item 12A, the personnel addendum. All in favor of approving the personnel addendum, please raise your hand high and say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed?
Change my mind.
Unanimous, ma'am.
Oh, it was unanimous? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. All right, that motion passes. And now we will move forward to item 12C, and that's the West Broad abatement and trash removal. I need a motion before discussion can be had.
I'll make a motion that we approve the item.
I'll second.
All right, motion made by Mr. Denson and seconded by Mr. Evans. Now the floor is open for conversation. Mr. Denson, you're welcome to begin.
Yeah, I think, the situation that's happened here with the West Broad just shows that we need to be very proactive and getting this property back in shape where it can serve the community and serve the school district. And this is the first step of us doing so, making sure that first and foremost that the buildings are secure, that they're not full of trash, and that they can be entered by people safely by not being full of asbestos. So I look forward to us moving forward with this cleaning and then discussing this item more thoroughly at our retreat so we can find a purpose for this property.
All right, Mr. Evans, you were the second maker. Comment?
I also will be supporting this. This is an important place in Athens, and we cannot allow it to continue to sit idle and fester. This is a place where so many people that we all know and care about and frankly love got their start. And we need to make sure that this place is protected, and we need to do something with it that will benefit the community. So I will be supporting. Thank you.
Okay, the floor is open for other comments or questions or suggestions. Mrs. Davis. Your mic is off.
I'm going to vote to support right now, cleaning the property up. I'll support that. But I want us to be absolutely cautious about taking that as the final thing. This is the second, third time we've brought this to this board, and we have yet to actually proactively engage in, one, securing that building and that property as a valued treasure for this community. I really want to see that change with this cleanup. It's not a restoration, but a cleanup. And there has to be a maintenance plan to sustain that until we come to a final resolution, in my opinion.
All right, thank you. Mrs. Davis, others before we vote? Okay. So we have on the floor 12C to approve West Broad abatement and trash removal. If you are in favor, please raise your hand high and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all right, that motion passes unanimously. Now we are moving forward to policy GAMA, and that is drug-free workplace, and this is for the approval of that policy. I need a motion before conversation can begin.
Make a motion that we approve a policy GAMA as it is written.
Okay,
I'll second.
all right, I have a motion on the floor from Mr. Evans and a second from Mrs. Davis. Now the floor is open. Mr. Evans, Mrs. Davis?
I have no comment, ma'am.
Okay. Mrs. Davis, comment?
I think that this is driven by other things other than just our local concerns. This actually has legislation behind it, and so I'm supporting it in that manner. I don't think I have thought about it, and I don't know who will take the time to look at the change in this policy to see how it truly impacts our operations as it relates to our children and our employees.
Okay, the floor is open for the remaining board. Other members wish to weigh in? Dr. Gant.
Wondering if, I know there's a motion to approve, and I think this may be time sensitive. Is that correct? Or with the adjustments? Is there a time sensitive?
I don't believe this one is.
I do think that we would have a larger hiring pool when we do meet the law so that we're not disregarding folks that might not be able to be considered for employment under the current practice. So we will increase our job pool and the opportunity.
That's great.
Was this one of the policies that we had to change by a certain point, like, or no?
You're talking about from a legislative?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think there's a hard deadline for this.
And so I wonder if it would be, I don't know really how to tease this out into a motion. I don't know if it would be a substitute motion, but I know Mr. Pruitt clarified for us that like the upper portion of what we have here is, these are things that are required with the laws that already exist. But I think it would be great if we could look through the remaining portions that are not necessarily required by law, just to be sure there may not be any additional unintended barriers that we may be putting in place, for people, particularly people that are seeking treatment and things of that nature. And so I don't know if, I don't know if we approve and maybe put this on a future, board meeting to revisit. I know our retreat agenda is full, but I do think there are some things towards the end of it that may just be worth figuring out where they come from, what policy guides it, and does it align with really the spirit of what the policy is trying to do.
Okay. I would like a point of clarification, if you don't mind, Dr. Gant. Are there specific portions of the policy that you would like the board and the district to explore in terms of future discussion?
Yeah, I tried to go back and find my comments, but I could not find them. I can't remember, it's been a long time. I think the ones that I shared with somebody.
Okay.
But there were, I think I got a little bit more clarification. I assumed that all of the, the changes, but then the remaining policy was what was required. It was the minimum that was required by law. This is what we have to do. But upon further discussion, I think there are portions that we have to do. All of those things that may be in green and above there, but and maybe, I don't know, maybe even some of the fitness for duty, but I just want to be sure that whatever is here is what is required, and that we're not necessarily doing extra stuff that may be adding barriers. And wherever those questions were, I think a good bit of them, or those comments, I think they dealt more with the law, the portion that is required by law. But I think there may be some things in here that may not necessarily be required by law. And so I'm not saying that we need to remove them, but I'm just saying maybe we can go back through them with a bit more intention and see if we want to keep them, or to see if they may be creating any type of unintended barriers for people who either have records or people who are seeking treatment and things of that nature. I don't know if that clarified it, but.
Could I maybe chime in and try to help with that?
Yes, Mr. Pruitt, thank you.
So this portion that's being changed comes from the Georgia Drug-Free Workplace Act. And HR realized and brought it to my attention, and I worked with Mr. Swartz on it. It went beyond, that law allows public employers to go beyond the minimums, but this is designed to roll it back to the minimums for the Georgia Drug-Free Workplace Act. Now, if you go further down in that policy, there are other provisions about drug testing and drug and alcohol in general, which come from other sources of law, such as Americans with Disabilities Act, and then just drug testing case law developed under Fourth Amendment search and seizure. We have not looked at those, and I think that's what Dr. Gant's saying is she would like us to look at those as well. I suggest let's not bet that the perfect to be the enemy of the good tonight. Go ahead and remove these unnecessary barriers now, and then look at removing, if there are any others, let's look at that and bring it back to you as soon as we can.
Okay, so I think that we may be in agreement that the policy as it's stated now is sort of looking at the minimum standards per state, local,
Georgia
legislation.
Drug Free Workplace
Okay.
Act.
Okay. And maybe we have a space to approve it now, and then perhaps revisit it at our March retreat or at our January meeting for further discussion.
I mean, if it's the consensus of the board and Dr. Scott for Mr. Swartz and me to do that, we'll do it.
Yeah, and I do agree, I think if Dr. Gann is okay with that and the board is the will of the board is okay with that, I agree with it. I just know that we tend to make these decisions and then we sort of forget about them. So there needs to be like a marker for us revisiting these policies when we decide to do that, because I don't have the living memory to be able to decide 3 months down the road if we really resolve the policy. So I don't know whose job that is, but yes, we can maybe think about voting on this policy now and then revisiting it in the future, but perhaps Mr. Evans and I are responsible for figuring out how to bring it back on a future agenda, but I know that we do this a lot. And I don't want this to be our common practice, because I don't think it's a very effective way to visit policy.
So just like we have the,
Mrs. Davis.
just like we have the, our document, right? I would think the follow-up on this could very well be managed through that, and we should see the update in a board report or weekly report. I
Yeah.
think that would help us close that loop. But yes, I agree with you. There are several action items that we've put on the policy document, on our policy document, board document. And, yeah, you have to dig back through the minutes to try and see how that came about. So
Yeah.
that would be excellent. Thank you. I appreciate you
And
bringing
I
that
think,
up.
to Mr. Pruitt's point, we can roll it right back to he and Mr. Swartz
Okay.
to immediately.
Okay. That would be super helpful. Is the board okay with, Mr. Denson, you have a question or comment?
I'm okay with it. Yeah, I had my specific concern, but I'm happy going through that process of just sending that on and seeing if we can fix that one part.
Okay, so then I think the decision, Mrs. Palmer, is to go ahead and vote for it as it's as the motion has been made. But let's go ahead and place it back on the agenda for the discussion in January. I don't think it's healthy to do it in November. Okay, thank you. All right, so we've got a motion on the floor. All in favor of approving policy GAMA, drug-free workplace, or raise your hand high and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. Now we are at GAC, and that is staff involvement in decision-making. And I apologize that I was not here at the work session, so I don't know what consensus was made, but maybe we can put a motion on the floor either way, based on your conversations earlier, and we can talk about it.
Make a motion that we approve GAC as written.
Second.
All right, motion's made by Mr. Evans, seconded by Mr. Denson. Now the conversation is open. Mr. Evans, you're welcome to make comments as the motion maker.
I'm voting for this mostly because we need to move on from this.
Okay.
So I do agree though with Ms. Hall who pulled this, in that, this does feel semi-performative. It's kind of like, there are lots of things in education that it's just kind of like, duh, like you're supposed to do this. You're supposed to listen to these people and things like that. And that we have to spell this out seems a little juvenile. But again, if this is the will of the board, and it seems to be the will of the board, then I'll just go along with it.
Okay, Mr. Denson?
Yeah, I support this policy and think we should be keeping on the books. I think that even if it is, something that we should obviously be doing, it's always good for us to have reminders of what kind of values steer this board and steer the school district. And we have this, 10 actions to avoid. It should be obvious that we don't curse, but we still have it here in front of us because we want to make sure it's actually guiding us in the way that we want to operate. So, yeah, I will be supporting this.
Okay, other members? Mrs. Davis?
I object to, I will not be supporting this because, again, if it is performative, there are no guardrails. And so I don't know that there's any value in putting a policy out that is loosely interpreted by whoever picks it up and whoever has an agenda that they want to move forward. And it, again, slaps in the face of an orderly way of managing and running the district from my perspective. That's what I read in this policy. So I will not be supporting a performative policy that has no guardrails.
Okay, thank you. Other members? All right, we have a motion on the floor. I will say that I'm going to support it because I think not having guardrails does not mean you should not have a piece of legislation in place. Guardrails can be determined by policymakers, by who gets to decide the how. We get to decide the what, but other members of society get to decide the how. And if it's there, then you can exercise it as a citizen of the Clark County School District, and then we can have more conversations about the how. And I think that that's a healthy, democratic conversation to have. So I will support it, and I'm just stating my opinion before we vote. Okay. All in favor of approving the policy GAC, staff involvement in decision-making, raise your hand high and say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. We have a 4-1. That motion passes. Let's see, now we are at informational items, and just for I don't know if y'all discussed this at the work session, but some of the things that were informational items earlier got moved to the superintendent's report because our board members don't vote in those things. So we're really keeping the informational items for board members that actually do actively participate as voting members or, you know, stakeholders in these boards. So first up is the Early Head Start Policy Council meeting minutes and reports. Mr. Denson?
Yeah, this is just for the meetings that we had over the summer, I believe June and July, and really the only important thing is that we approved the hiring of some of the child care specialists. If there's further questions, I'm happy to answer them.
All right, any questions? All right, now we are at item B, Athens Area Community Foundation. I think that's Mrs.
It's Dr. Yeager.
Is it Dr. Yeager or Mrs. Hensley? I think it's Mrs. Hensley, and they have not met for a long time. She is not here today. And then we have Envision Athens, which is also Mr. Denson.
Yeah, our next meeting is coming up on November 4th. We did not have one for this month, but if anybody has any ideas or feedback or questions about Envision Athens, what they're doing, again, I'm happy to answer those.
All right, thank you. Now we are at item 14. I need a motion.
Motion to adjourn.